Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack the most compelling insights from the sources you share with us. Today, we're jumping into the world of technology. It's a really dynamic space right now. We're looking beyond just the cool new gadgets, thinking about the massive infrastructure needed and also the policy, the legal stuff that shapes it all. You sent over a really fascinating stack of reports, and they really show how everything's connected in tech. Okay, let's get into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be covering quite a range. Things like drone deliveries in really remote areas, but also the huge energy thirst of AI.
Yeah.
And even, boardroom fights over data privacy.
Yeah.
What's really striking, I think, is how these stories, which seem so different on the surface, actually point at the same big themes. Tech is pushing boundaries, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there are these big societal and economic challenges that pop up alongside that speed. It really makes you ask, how do we actually navigate all this?
Yeah. Exactly. So our first piece takes us to Guyana. A company called 19 Labs is doing some genuinely impactful work there. And here's where it gets really interesting. They're using drones, not just for dropping off packages, but delivering medicine, digital health kits. And get this, even flying blood samples back from remote indigenous communities to hospitals.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's not just a pilot program or something small. 19 Labs, they've apparently been working with the government there for years. It's a proper public-private partnership. The president there is apparently quite eager to use tech and new gas money they have for positive change.
What's really fascinating there, I think, is how they're combining pretty advanced tech. You mentioned Starlink, NVIDIA chips, applying it to solve these really practical life-saving issues in tough environments. It just underscores that idea, that tech, when you really think about how to implement it thoughtfully, it can bridge these critical gaps in access, infrastructure, particularly in developing nations. It's not just about what the tech can do theoretically. It's about the actual tangible good it does for people.
And when we say drones, we should clarify, these aren't like the little DJI ones you buy off the shelf. They call them unmanned aircraft. Big difference. Capable of carrying 25 pounds this year.
Which is already significant.
Right. And the plan is 150 pounds next year.
That's a major step up.
Huge. And they've got tech on board like Starlink Mini, that's the smallest version, and actual NVIDIA processors. For real-time processing, autonomous flight safety, allows the pilot to monitor weather, location with really low latency.
So sophisticated stuff.
Very. And the CEO, he highlights that they're trying to innovate at a cost point that works for the next 1 billion people.
Oh.
The goal, he says, is doing it for good, taking what might have been military tech and using it for humanitarian purposes.
That's a powerful mission.
And importantly, they contrast themselves with companies like Zipline. Zipline is apparently more vertically integrated, tech-powered, does everything itself. 19 Labs says they focus on balancing the AI with, human involvement, empowering local people.
How so?
To actually charge the drones, unpack them, help them land safely in the communities, which also means, educating them.
So it's about building local capacity too, not just dropping things off.
Exactly. Sounds much more sustainable, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
That focus on empowering locals instead of just providing a service from outside, that's a crucial difference. It's about building self-sufficiency in the long run. That's, I think, a much more impactful approach for development.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of huge scale and ambition in tech, one of the sources mentioned SpaceX. They're apparently planning an insider share sale and valuation around $400 billion.
$400 billion, wow.
Yeah, making it the most valuable private startup globally. That's up quite a bit from December when shares were $185 to $212 now.
That kind of number certainly signals enormous market confidence in these really high-tech, ambitious ventures.
No kidding.
Yeah, the market giving SpaceX that kind of valuation, even as a private entity, it just shows this huge investor appetite for the moonshot tech right now.
Yeah.
It's a belief not just in the tech itself, but in the vision, the potential to disrupt things long-term, even if profits are, years down the road.
Right. But this kind of tech expansion, it doesn't just run on ambition, does it? It needs resources, especially energy, which brings us nicely to the next big challenge. The AI boom.
Ah, yes, the power demand.
Exactly. We're seeing reports that Elon Musk's xAI is talking about leasing huge data center capacity, specifically in Saudi Arabia.
Looking for cheap energy, presumably, and maybe some political goodwill, too.
Seems like it. And xAI's ambition is massive. They're starting to look like rivals to OpenAI, Meta, in terms of scale. I mean, look at Meta. They expect to spend up to, $72 billion this year?
Yeah.
mostly on data centers.
$72 billion. That's staggering.
And they're apparently offering $200 million pay packages to lure away top AI talent.
The talent war is fierce.
Definitely. And it's interesting that, xAI's chatbot, Grok 4, it's made headlines, sometimes for controversies being unfiltered. But it seems the main focus right now isn't necessarily perfecting the product or finding revenue. It's securing the infrastructure first, build it, then figure out the rest, maybe.
That infrastructure-first approach is common in these big plays. But the energy required, it really does raise this huge question about sustainability. How sustainable is this AI race? We're talking gigawatts of power needed to scale up. Gigawatts.
So where does that come from?
Well, many are looking very seriously at nuclear power now. It makes sense on paper, right? It's reliable, 2047 power, it's scalable, doesn't take up much land, and crucially, it's emissions-free. But the timelines are long.
Yeah.
Building new nuclear plants, you're looking at the end of this decade, maybe even 2030, 2035, realistically. And then there are the regulatory hurdles, concerns about the environment, safety, and specifically mentioned were recent actions by the Trump administration. Reports suggest moves to reduce the independence of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC.
Adding another layer of complexity. So it's not just building the tech, it's literally finding the juice to run it. And as these tech giants grow, they bump into global politics too, don't they? Like NVIDIA.
The world's most valuable company now, yeah.
And they're finding they might be freer now to sell some of their chips into China. Apparently, some U.S. restrictions have been relaxed.
That is a significant shift. This big turnabout, as one source called it, isn't just about, random policy changes. It really highlights how fast strategic priorities can pivot when economic pressures mount. Maybe less full decoupling, more sort of managed interdependence.
Interesting take. Yeah. The report notes some see the Trump administration as, pro-business and maybe more open to lobbying on policy.
Yeah.
This specific change lists restrictions from back in April, ones that cost NVIDIA, $4.5 billion in write-downs?
Ouch.
So, yeah, their CEO, Jensen Huang, is apparently expecting licenses very soon. Though, the details, the exact speed, still a bit unclear. It seems to fit into this bigger picture of U.S.-China relations evolving. Some even suggested a quid pro quo in trade talks, addressing these export controls.
A trade-off, perhaps?
Could be, but it's not all clear sailing. Another source mentioned ASML, the big chip equipment maker.
Ah, yes. Crucial player.
They just walked back their growth forecast for 2026. Why? Because their customers are worried about tariffs. So there's still a lot of uncertainty rattling the supply chain.
Absolutely. Taking a step back, it just shows this really delicate dance, doesn't it? Between national security, economic growth, global trade, especially in tech. Even if policies shift, like with NVIDIA, those underlying worries about tariffs, geopolitical friction, they clearly still make companies like ASML nervous. The path ahead is still pretty complex.
From global trade tensions to corporate accountability closer to home, our sources also dig into a major legal fight for Meta. Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, other board members, they're actually expected to testify in court in Delaware.
Testify, not settle.
Right. It's a shareholder lawsuit stemming from that whole Cambridge Analytica scandal.
Ugh, that feels like a long time ago. But the fallout continues.
It does. Quick reminder. Cambridge Analytica improperly harvested data from millions of Facebook users, had links to the Trump campaign, led to a huge multi-billion-dollar settlement with the FTC for Facebook, the company. But this lawsuit is different. Shareholders are going after the executives personally, not the company.
Personally? On what grounds?
Alleging negligence, a lack of oversight, basically saying they didn't do their jobs properly, didn't follow FTC orders, even though Zuckerberg, has total control over the company via his voting power.
That is different. Usually these things settle.
Exactly. The sources say this is unprecedented. First time a CEO and board members are actually facing this in open court for something like this.
Huge potential implications for other companies then.
Definitely. And apparently Zuckerberg himself is taking a no apologies stance, wants to fight it, set a precedent that Meta and he can win these court battles.
Wow. The core thing here, I think, is this potential shift in accountability for leaders, especially around user data privacy. It really forces us to think about the balance of power inside these massive corporations and, the responsibility that comes with controlling so much user data. It feels like a pretty critical moment for defining corporate governance in the digital age.
Yeah, definitely one to watch. Now, shifting gears quite a bit, but still on regulation, there's movement on the stablecoin front. A bill called the Genius Act seems to be making progress in the House.
The Genius Act, is that the official name or?
Ha, good question. Might be a nickname, but proponents are definitely pushing it.
Okay. Well, regardless of the name, this could be quite significant. It's a big step towards sort of formalizing how digital currencies fit into the traditional financial system. It just highlights how much we need clear rules, regulatory clarity to let innovation happen, but also protect consumers and keep the financial system stable.
So what would it actually do?
Well, the idea is to provide a clear structure for stablecoins. Rules around what backs them, the collateral transparency, who's accountable. It's not just about new tech. It's potentially reshaping basic economic plumbing. The hope is it could make crypto adoption feel, I suppose, more comfortable for the average person.
Right. And the sources suggest proponents hope it leads to wider use of dollar-backed digital tokens. They see it as a way to project U.S. soft power globally using the dollar and legitimize crypto linked to the U.S. dollar.
A strategic angle, definitely.
President Trump is reportedly pushing for it, too.
That aligns. It's recognizing digital assets are growing, but trying to keep the dollar central in that new landscape.
Okay, and finally, we can't really talk about the tech and economic picture without touching on politics, specifically monetary policy. There's been a lot of chatter and market reaction, actually, to reports that President Trump might fire the Fed chair, Jay Powell, and soon.
Fire the Fed chair. It's a big deal.
Huge. President Trump's view, reportedly, is that Powell's been too late cutting interest rates. He apparently claims Europe has cut rates 10 times, the U.S. none, and says this hurts people trying to get mortgages, buy houses. Called Powell too late, said he does a terrible job.
But can a president just fire a Fed chair for policy disagreements? I thought it was more restricted than that.
It is. Legally, the grounds are pretty narrow. Usually it has to be for cause. And just disagreeing on interest rates probably isn't enough.
So how would they justify it?
Well, reports suggest the administration might be focusing on the cost of the Fed's building renovation as a potential cause.
Looking for a technicality, perhaps?
Seems possible. And just the reports themselves, the possibility of Powell being fired, have already moved markets. The U.S. dollar index, other major currencies.
Right.
They reacted.
Yeah, what's really striking there is seeing that direct collision. High-stakes monetary policy, political pressure, and instant market jitters. It throws that whole question of central bank independence into sharp focus, doesn't it? And how political winds can directly ripple through economic indicators that affect, well, everything from tech company borrowing costs to your own mortgage rate. It really underlines how crucial stable leadership is, especially when the economy is dealing with such rapid tech changes.
So, wrapping this all up, what does it mean for you, listening in, curious about where tech is headed? We've gone from drones saving lives in Guyana to the massive energy needs of AI, the tricky dance of global trade, serious questions about corporate accountability, even the very structure of money. It's just so clear technology isn't only about the latest shiny object. It's tangled up with policy, economics, real human impact.
Indeed. We've covered a lot of ground today, drawing from all those different sources you shared. And it shows, I think, how valuable knowledge is when you can connect the dots across different fields. The future of tech. It's not just about what gets invented. It's about how we govern it, how we power it, and how we weave it into our lives responsibly.
So as you think about this deep dive, maybe consider this. In this age of incredibly fast tech progress, which area, the raw innovation, the physical infrastructure needed, or the political and legal influence shaping it, which of those do you think will ultimately shape our collective future the most? Thanks for joining us for the deep dive. Hopefully that gives you plenty to chew on. Until next time.